Jeremiah 51:8. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her pain. Salakia. Howl for her. Take bond for her pain. If so, she may be healed. Revelations 18:2. And he cried with a mighty strong voice, saying, Babylon is fallen, Babylon is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the whole of every foul spirit in a cage, uncleanful, hateful birds. Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh Ba'Hashem, Yahweh Shai Ba'Hashem, Wakar Kadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, preaching his word truthfully and sincerely. Shalom to the Akim, scattered to the four corners of the globe, preaching the word truthfully and sincerely. And shalom to the Akim, that be like unto the speckled bird, preaching the word truthfully and sincerely. And I say shalom to you Akim out there. And this is a news article from RT.com. Oh, whatever.
Sprinkle water.
Salakia, let's talk to my brother. But yeah, this is a survey study poll right here, and I believe it's the polls from the Americans of the views of North America, how it's due to the economy and the number of people have live in poor conditions, And this is a news article from RT.com, was published on August the 22nd, 2022. RT World News, around the world, alternative news from RT.com. And the highlight of this news article, and it reads in reference to the scriptures that I just brought out as an introduction of my of this video lesson. And I hope it's edifying through the spirit, power, grace, and mercy of Yahweh Yahushua. And the highlight of this news article, and it reads, for today in the news on August the 22nd, 2022 at 10:47 a.m. in the Monday morning. And it reads, more Americans suffering than ever before. Poll shows amid economic decline, a record number of people have rated their lives as poor. It says this is an actual photo of tents lying in the streets of Skid Row area of Los Angeles, California on July the 22nd, 2022. And it says the percentage of Americans who say they are suffering rose to 5.6 in a Gallup poll published on Monday. This number has been climbing steady since last summer, and it is currently higher at any point during the 2008 recession or the 2020 pandemic. It says Gallup quality of life. It says index rate respondents as thriving, struggling, or suffering based on how they rank their life situations and expect future situations. A score of less than 4 out of 10 is seen as suffering, while 7 or above categorized as striving. 59% of Americans that were thriving last November, that the number has since then fallen to 51%. As of this July, the drop is not as several as the 46% recorded during the first wave of the you know what and the job losses in the spring of 2020, or the rose of 46.4% since during the stock market crash in 2008. However, a suffering figures of a 5.6, the highest ever recorded since it began measuring in 2008. It becomes after a previous record of 4.8 was set in April and has climbed upwards since 2.8 in last July. The pre-2020 high of 4.7 was reached in December 2008, highest after the Dow Jones suffered its largest single day in loss. It says the apparent increase in suffering comes as a poll that shows that Americans are pessimistic about the state of the economy and rate these economic concerns above all other issues. The U.S. inflation rate stands at 8.5, slightly down from 9.1 in June, with price of food, fuel, and consumer goods rising. And the Biden administration has lavishly, with the president allocating for more than $54 billion since February for military and economic aid, and passing a lavish climate health care tax reform bill earlier this month. While the bill is named the Inflation Reduce Act, the Congressional Budget Pass noted that it will subsidize middle-class Americans around $20 million in additional taxes over the coming decade, while having a negligible impact on inflation. President has attempted to blame rise of price on President Vladimir Putin in Russian military operation in Ukraine, repeatedly using the phrase Putin price hack in his speech. However, just 11% of the Americans believe that Putin is responsible for the high gas prices, and Biden approval rating has continued to fall, reaching a new low of 38% in the Gallup in July. Right, because it's continually showing more signs increasingly now more than ever, as the scripture stated that modern day Babylon is falling, because this is modern day Egypt. Because you look at the whole architecture of America, because you show symbols of modern day Egypt. On the dollar bill, it shows that what the architecture, the statues, the buildings from Las Vegas to Memphis and other places in the United States. This is, modern day Egypt. And this is modern day Babylon as well too, according to the Holy Scriptures. So yeah, it shows modern day Babylon is definitely falling. Because you're saying now, as it's showing, as I was reading through the article, it's showing the statistics of people are suffering now more than ever. People that's thriving, it was up 50%. Now it's down to 51% since the last July into this July and August of this year as well too. And you've been seeing an increase of decline of people are more getting close to poor conditions or being poor, the lower class, and it's affecting the middle class, as you look at the prices of the prices of foods and goods and gas, the inflation rate been going up, then the consumer from it went from 9.1, it decreased a little bit, but the consumer prices are still going up. The food prices skyrocketing, house mortgages skyrocketing, the cost of living constantly continually skyrocketing, so the cost of living, it really kind of affects the American citizens, Because you have people that works like 2 or 3 jobs, barely just making it, paying their rent, paying their cable bill, their light, gas bill, their cell phone bill, to have gas in their car, get back and forth from point A to point B to work, take their kids to school, make sure they have food on the table, make sure they have a roof over their head. So it's a huge responsibility, and it's affecting a lot of American citizens, because you got even though Joe Biden's saying that Inflation's Act into law to decrease the inflations, but I don't know if that's going to fully work. That he had signed a climate change bill into law, along with the health care bill as well too. But as Americans, continue to suffer more and more and more now than ever. This is the worst poor conditions since the 2008 recession, and since the 2008 of the Dow Jones, the stock market has crashed. Since the worst, So yeah, then I was always continuing reading down on to the article. The Biden administration was sending all that money, billions. Now it's a total of $10.5 billion of military aid over there in Ukraine, because you got the continued war increasing over there in Russia-Ukraine, as President Joe Biden blamed Vladimir Putin with the military operation of the invasion of Ukraine since February all the way into now. Joe Biden blamed him for the gas prices, of the skyrocket gas prices, and then you have, I believe, American citizens agree with him. It was only 11% agree with him, But then again, you have Joe Biden sending, Joe Biden and the Biden administration sending all this money to, the troops over there of Ukraine, sending $10.5 billion. And you have American citizens over here are homeless, are poor conditions, The homeless rate is increasing now more than ever, especially like in these major cities. You have like homeless people in downtown areas in the major cities, especially in here in Illinois where I'm at. Every time, I go downtown, you see a huge, large of populations of, this also happens in California as well too, a large population of homeless people, places like San Francisco, Los Angeles, throughout the parts of California, New York. You see these in the major cities, especially in down there in South Florida. You see in all these major cities where it's heavy poorish conditions. Then you got Joe Biden over there sending all this money, $10.5 billion in total, consistently sending millions and billions of dollars to over there to the, Ukraine military aid package over there to them, while you have over millions and millions of American citizens that's living the harshest poor conditions. It seemed like they forgot about them and doesn't care about their own citizens. Now if they care so much about the citizens here in North America, you will fund all that money to help the homeless, help the poor people that don't have housing, help the homeless have housing, get them jobs, get them back on their feet, But what Joe Biden administration do? Fund all the money to the Ukraine soldiers over there, So yeah, that's why this poll shows that more Americans suffering ever before. That's why I brought out that scripture, Jeremiah 51:8. Babylon is suddenly falling, especially on the economic scale. Like I mentioned before, due to the fact the housing, people rent going up, constantly, consistently going up. The cost of living constantly, consistently going up. Consumer spending throughout the whole month of July and June all the way into August, even though it declined a little bit, but consumer pricing still at an all-time high, went from 9.1 to 8.5%, because Americans spending more money on the foods and groceries, paying rent, to be able to maintain, like the Elder Nagab, we was at camp Saturday, and he mentioned that, you gotta choose between, if a person that works, they gotta balance it out if they're gonna spend the money on gas to get back and forth to work, or spend it on food, So that's why that shows you signs that, more Americans suffering ever than before. That's showing more signs of that. That modern day Babylon is definitely declining now more than ever, especially on the economic base. Now you got more Americans suffering and more increase of harsh, poor conditions, and more homelessness is starting to increase at an all-time rate. As you still, even though the inflation slipped down a little bit, you still got the inflation still affecting the consumer spending. The cost of living is increasingly continue to be more expensive now more than ever. The food you buy at the store, prices consistently going up. Gas prices, even though it's been declining, decreasing, but you still got gas prices in certain cities in the United States. It's still increasing. Like the major cities like Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, Florida, Texas, places like that. And it's still definitely being increasing, the cost of living, the house market, even though they created more jobs with the unemployment rate going down from 3.7 to 3.5 or 3.1, but you still got American citizens suffering now more than ever, according to this study poll shows right here. It says more Americans suffering now more than ever. So that shows more signs that modern day Babylon is definitely falling, and it's going to continue to fall, especially on an economic scale, even though Joe Biden saying that inflation's packed into law, but you're sending $10.5 billion over there in the Ukraine, help the soldiers over there, but you could be using all that money towards helping the homeless out, helping the American citizens, since you care so much about the American people. You should be funding all this monies on building more houses for the homeless, building and creating more jobs for the homeless, to get them back on their feet, more, create more homes for them, build more homes, build more infrastructure of homes and stuff like that. If the Biden administration cares so much about the American citizens, and he's saying trying to make America back strong again, but how is that? But you sending all this money over there to the Ukrainian people, military aid, and some of that money is being wasted, and that's a lot of money, $10.5 billion in total. That some of that $10.5 billion money can be used to help poor, homeless American citizens, building more care facilities for the people that got health conditions, mental health conditions as well too. Should be building more facilities for them, creating more jobs for the poor, creating more homes for the poor, spending more money, food for the homeless, care for the homeless, for the lower income, to harsh lower income homeless people, and help all Americans out. If that was the case, help the people that's the poor people, help them out. Help all Americans out if that's the case. But what Joe Biden administration do? Fund all that money to the Ukraine soldiers over there. So that shows you more continuing signs that Babylon is falling now more than ever. Now survey shows right here, more Americans suffering now more than ever, according to the polls. Study shows right here. This has been the worst homeless condition since 2008 of the recession hits. Of the 2008 of the markets was crash as the worst since 2008. It's worse than ever before. So, modern day Babylon is falling. It's going to continue to fall now more than ever, So with that, I hope this lesson was edifying through the spirit, power, grace, and mercy of Yahweh Yahushua. And first and foremost, I would like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Rakar Kadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles and great millstone, pushing this word truthfully and sincerely. And shalom to the Akim, scattered through the four corners of the globe, pushing the word truthfully and sincerely. And shalom to the Akim that be like unto the speckled bird, pushing the word truthfully and sincerely. And before I close out this sit-down lesson on this August the 22nd, 2022 at 11:06 a.m. Central Standard Time on this Monday morning in the a.m. So that shows you more signs than ever that modern day Babylon is falling on an economic scale, as more Americans suffering now more than ever. So modern day Babylon is going to continue to fall as we see these data statistics of seeing more homeless increasing, more of everything, prices going up. Food, gas, inflation rates, consumer pricings from 9.1 to 8.5. It's going to increase now more than ever, Then you're going to see more signs of the economy continue to decline, more homeless, poorest conditions for the homeless people, and for more homeless Americans. That is skyrocketing at an all-time high. And it's showing more signs of Babylon is definitely falling, and it is falling. And it's going to continue to fall, especially on an economic base sense, And so with that, I would say shalom and a ball.